In this video, I'm going to show you how the bishops move in the game of chess. And so I'm going to start by talking about how they move. Now, first of all, it's important to note that bishops move diagonally. Okay, so I'm going to begin to talk about this bishop on c1, and note they move diagonally. So the bishop on c1 is currently on a dark square, and that means that this bishop actually will remain on a dark square for the entire game, because bishops move diagonally. So this bishop could move anywhere along that diagonal. Notice they're all dark squares. Or it could move anywhere along the other diagonal. And so in the beginning of a game, which is where this bishop is sitting, these are the squares that it basically has the ability to control or move to, because bishops move diagonally. So this bishop is going to be moved to the f4 square. So locate f4. The bishop is going to move to f4. Why? Just because that's what was chosen in this scenario. Not to mention, a lot of times people play that bishop to f4 in the beginning of a game. But we'll play bishop to f4. Now, black decides to play one of their bishops, and they're going to move this bishop, which can move to any square along the light diagonal this direction, or the light diagonal this direction. Now note that this bishop is on a light-colored square, so this bishop will remain on a light-colored square for the entire game, which is why oftentimes this square is called the light-squared bishop, because it's always on a light square, as opposed to the other bishop, which would be called a dark-squared bishop, because it was always on the dark square. So it's important to note also then that when you begin a game of chess, you have one light-squared bishop and one dark-squared bishop. Each player has one of each. Once you lose your light-squared bishop, you can never really have a light-squared bishop unless you choose to promote a pawn and change it into a bishop. So the black is going to play bishop to b7 along the diagonal. And now taking a look at the white bishops, white's going to play bishop to d3, so they're going to play their light-squared bishop to d3, playing a diagonal move, and they can move as many squares as they want diagonally in a straight line, and so they're going to play bishop to d3. Now, black is going to play bishop to b4, so they are going to play their dark-squared bishop to the b4 square. There. That's the move that they're going to make. Bishop to b4. So they make bishop b4. Now, I've moved each of the bishops out towards the center of the board, and now it's important to realize what their options are for moving. Now, I'm going to look at this bishop right here, the bishop on f4. This is white's dark-squared bishop. And note what the power that this bishop has right now. Remember, bishops can move diagonally, so there are actually, in this case, like 4 directions that this bishop can go. It can move anywhere along that diagonal. It can move anywhere along this diagonal. It can move the opposite direction along that diagonal. And of course, it can move along the other diagonal. So bishops actually move, in a sense, they kind of control an X on the board, if you will. This bishop that right now we're analyzing, you can see it basically has the power or controls a large X on the board. And so that's an important feature of the bishop to keep in mind as to what it controls on the board. So that bishop chooses to move bishop to d6, which is along one of those diagonals, bishop to d6. Now, note what just happened. That bishop actually just made a mistake into where it moved, because it has just moved in line with its opponent's bishop. And so black says, aha, that was a mistake. That was a blunder. And so black decides to capture that along the diagonal, which it can. And then white plays bishop to f1 along the diagonal here, staying on the white square but playing diagonally. Bishop to f1. And black plays bishop to e4, so I'm looking for the e4 square. That's a light colored square. I can see that this bishop is going to move to e4 there. So it moves diagonally along that. Bishop to e4. White plays bishop g2, which is a mistake, because it has just moved in line with the black bishop and now can be captured by the black bishop. That's a big mistake when you give away a piece like that, and that is called a blunder in chess. A blunder is where you make a big mistake. That's another good chess term to know, is a blunder. And so black decides, hey, I'm going to capture that, and there are no more white pieces on the board. So it's important to note that a bishop, again, moves diagonally and basically controls an X on the board. That bishop on d6 basically can attack anything along the diagonal. The bishop cannot jump any pieces, so that cannot happen. It simply would capture a piece if it were to run into it. And so there you have it. That's the main lesson on bishops. Make sure you understand that whatever colored square a bishop begins the game on, it will remain on that color for the entire game, and that a bishop moves diagonally.